Hello, this is Guy7, and today we're going to be working with, oh boy, title screens. Yes, custom title screens. And while this may seem easy, I'm going to tell you right here, it's not. This is going to be one of the most difficult tutorials I've ever published for the Super Mario 64 DS series. So if you really don't care too much, I'd recommend dropping out right now. But if you're like, hey, I got this, don't worry, you're going to have to, and are willing to troubleshoot a good amount of things, then please continue on ahead. It's not that I want to discourage you, I just want to save you from wasting a lot of time if you just give up halfway through it. I recommend you watch this part of this video and skim around a bit and see if you enjoy some things. Anyways, we're going to open up Super Mario 64 DSC. Or are we? Yes, we are, actually. We're going to open. No, I'm going to go in Tutorial and open Title Test. Okay, now what we're going to do here is we're going to go in ARM9 Overlays. Click Overlay 7, hit Decompress Overlay, and hit Extract. I'm just going to call Overlay 7.bin. Should probably put that in the bin folder. And it should look something like this. Okay, this is great and all, but what do we do with this? Well, before we go ahead and make our own tile set image title screen, we're going to see if we can extract the one that already exists in the ROMs. And what we're going to need for this tutorial is your logo, title tools, and New Super Mario Bros. But I somehow forgot that, so let me go get that real quick. Okay, now that I got New Super Mario Bros., we're ready to continue. So basically, we're going to look at this chart right here that will tell you all these addresses and stuff. So you're also going to need HXD installed. So I'm going to open this with HXD. I recommend using HXD. Don't use Hex Workshop. It won't be able to do some of the things that we do later. And so I have the USV1, so I'm going to look and say, oh, the map is right here. So I'm going to go copy this, hit Control G, go to this offset. And it should you should see something like this. And if I look here, it says the map is 1536 bytes. So that means I can go in Windows Calculator, in the decimal, hit 1536, and we should get a hex value of 600. This shows selected values in hex. So I'm going to go ahead and select 600 bytes right here. See, it says 600. Now it's important that you select here from the beginning of the offset. It tells you to. Select all the way to 600. Hit Control C. We're going to make a new file. The map is called the NSC. So we're going to call this default nsc.bin. We're going to go in this file, hit Control V. If we highlight it, it should be exactly 600 bytes. Although it's 600 decimal, but hexadecimal bytes and not decimal. So I'm going to close out of this. Now we go on to the next one. We go to 3CA30, which is the tile map. And yours should look something similar to this. And that will be the NCG right here. So I'm going to just make a new file just in case. Default ncg.bin. And it has a length of 3240 bytes. So let me just paste that into the decimal right here, and we get a size of 7F80. So that means we're going to select 7F80 bytes. Alright, I have selected the 7F80 bytes. A lot of these will look really strange. I recommend you don't really worry about it too. Oh, no, sorry. I have not actually selected the 7F80 bytes, which is why I was confused. It wasn't 7F80. I don't know why I thought that was 7F80, but it wasn't. This is going to be a long tutorial, by the way. Just warning you. This is only the beginning part. We're not even to the fun stuff yet. Almost there. Alright. Once we reach 7F80, yeah, this looks like it should. I remember it looking it more like this. Okay, NCG, this is 0 bytes, so it should be this one. I'll just paste in this data, and it's exactly 7F80. That means I did it right. I can just right click and hit close. Now we're on to the last thing, the NCL. So you want to make a new default NCL.bin. Okay. And now we're going to go to US offset here, because I'm using the US version 1. It takes me here where you see the palette header. And let's see how many bytes it is. 480. Paste that into the decimal part, and we get a total of 1E0, which is a relatively short, and you can see how the data ends nice and easy. So let me paste that into the NCL file we just made, and we have the perfect lengths. Alright, now we can X out of this, and it's time to replace these in the game and see if they work. Now you're going to need a backup of your ROM. So for now I'm just going to call this dummy. Why we're going to use a dummy ROM is important, because we're going to be screwing around with the mini maps. You may not want that in your hack. So I'm going to go to the tutorial and go to dummy. And while in New Super Mario Bros. E, we're going to hit root, data, stage, Bombay map, and we're going to go replace the ISC with this SC. We're going to replace the CG with this CG right here. We're going to replace this CL with this CL. And then you can double check the lengths, and you should see that they all match up perfectly with the corresponding byte length here. And now what we're going to do is actually going to need to compress two of them. If we look here, we need to LZ compress the SC and CG files. So I'm going to select the SC and hit this, button right here just once. And we're going to click the CG one and hit LZ compress just once. And then we're going to X out of the new Super Mario Bros. Editor because our work there is done. We're going to open the dummy ROM. And then we're going to load Bombay, which is Bob-omb's Battlefield. Now I'm using my Shining Stars ROM for whatever reason, but we're going to go in Minimap. And you'll see it throws us a weird error. Just ignore it. And what we actually need to do is set the width to 256 and the height to 192, because that's actually the width and height of the title screen image. And if we do that, magic happens. And you can see we have successfully extracted the Super Mario 64DS logo. And you can notice here that there's an awkward purple. And basically this acts as a green screen transparency tile. And these ones right here are specifically dedicated to the background colors. So we're not going to really mess with them. Okay, now once we do this, we're going to export this as, I'm going to make a new folder for BMP files. I'm going to call this BMP. I'm going to call this orig.bmp because it's the original minimap. Now we can just kind of, no, we're going to need that for later actually. So in the BMP, we have our rig.bmp, but let's make a copy of this. And I'm going to call this derptitle.bmp. Then let's open it with GIMP. And we are also going to open logo.png with GIMP. Okay, and now they both loaded. We have this derp title and this logo right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the background. I'm going to go color to alpha. I'm going to go black. And you can see that the black alpha channel has been completely removed. I'm going to copy this whole thing to this. I'm going to make a new layer. Then I can move this around and resize. No, before I actually paste that in there, I'm going to want to delete this logo right here. So I'm going to select this and hit delete. Then I'm going to hit fill, use the eyedropper tool, select that, and fill. Except the thing is we have some transparency here, which is not a good thing. So we're going to need to figure out how to remove this transparency. No, that didn't really do anything. Anyways, on this new layer, I'm going to start deselecting for, oh, it just will not paste in transparent. We're going to scale the layer. I'm just going to do it something like 200 pixels. No, that's still too small. Scale layer. I'm going to make it not going to 256. Okay, let's go with this, despite how small it is. So I'm just going to put my Shining Stars logo right in the middle here. Except, actually no. What I'm going to do is use paint.net to get this logo in here, because GIMP isn't really my thing. So I'm just going to use paint.net to get in here, and I'll be back when I do. Okay, I'm back with my very derpy but simplistic kind of like logo. Why it looks like that is I removed all the transparent pixels so I wouldn't have any issues with the purple background later. Anyways, we're going to take a good look at this now, and we're going to count kind of how many background pixels there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 times 3, that's 48. I think. Yeah, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. Okay, so that makes things easy. 256 minus 56 is 200. So what we're going to do is hit Image, Mode, Index. We're going to give this 200 colors. Okay, you shouldn't, if your thing is simplistic like mine, you shouldn't have so much change, but if you had a lot of colors, you would have. Now let's go to Windows, Dockable Dialogues, and hit Color Map. You should see something like this. This is all the colors that can and will be used in your image. You can edit each one individually, but we're going to need to change this background to the front. And how we're going to do that is we're going to go to Dockable. We're going to go to Colors, Map, and hit Rearrange Color Map. But before we can know which one to rearrange, we're going to hit the dropper tool right here and select the background. And we can see the color index is 11. So we can see that that kind of makes sense. And we're going to put 11 over here. And we're going to put 0 where 11 is going to go. We're just going to do a quick swap. If we hit OK, everything should still look fine, which is great. Now, what we're going to need to do is eventually kind of fill the color map with our background colors. You could use these background colors if you wanted. You can use the dropper tool to get those colors, but I'm going to have them completely black for simplicity. For now, I'm just going to hit File, Export. I'm going to call this Title 1 so we can save our progress so far. So if anything goes wrong, we can always come back to this point. Now I'm going to go to Colors, Map, no, sorry, Windows, Dockable Dialogues, and hit Palettes. you're going to see this. And you're going to see the color map of image 1, which is the current color map we're at. You can see all this. And just so we don't mess things up, I'm going to duplicate this. We're going to call this title map so that we can tell it apart from the others. I'm going to keep on creating new ones. Although I'm going to change this to pitch black. Hit OK. And we're going to keep on spamming the new button. Once again, you would usually do it for how many backgrounds you need. And we're going to make this go all the way to 256. If you already overdo it, you can hit delete this entry. We're going to hit save. And if we compare it to this, you can, well, if I can get a comparison here, you can see that we have these 3 rows here, and then we have the same kind of basic structure, which is important. So once this is done, we've done most of the image editing. Now it's time to kind of set our new map. So we're going to go to Colors, Map, Set Color Map, and we're going to select the title map right here that we just did. Hit close and hit OK. And when we look at the color map, you can see all the background entries have been added, and yet our image has not been affected in any way. Now we're going to hit Control-Shift-E. We're going to call this Title 2, so we can use it for later. Now what we're going to need to do is make it a 256 by 250. No, sorry. Now what we're going to do is actually see how our title screen would look if it were kind of imported, and if it can import correctly. So we're going to go to we're going to go to Minimap, and we're going to hit Import for the Wumps Fortress, and I'm going to hit title2.bmp. Now it's going to give me an error, or just look weird. But remember, you need to hit 1. We're going to need to do 256 by 192 in order for it to look correctly. And oh dear, it's not working. Well, now that we did that, well, that's because, no, that still doesn't really make much sense. Maybe if we let's double check the size here. It's 256 by 192. But why isn't it working? I know I did have this problem earlier. Oh, you just need to hit load image again. Okay, and you can see that once I click that, everything looks the way it should perfectly in the editor. Now, once we hit Minimap, it's going to go do blah blah blah. Oh, and I accidentally quit that. Well, I don't really care because we don't need that editor for now anyways. So now what we're going to do is convert this file so we can use it later. How I'm going to do that is hit Image, Scale Image, hit this chain button here, and no, that's not it, Image, Canvas Size, oh right, sorry. I'm going to hit this 256, and we're going to hit this. So that's right on the top right here. We want it floating on the top and hit resize. Then, since GIMP is kind of screwy, we're going to create a new layer. and we're going to take this dropper tool, select this, fill, take the dropper tool, click it when you're on that layer, then hit fill, go on this layer and go back, then code that. Then we're going to merge the visible layers. So now that we have this, now I'm going to Control Shift E this to title 3. And don't put anything down here. You shouldn't have to worry about that. Now what we're going to do is convert this. So we're going to copy this image. We're going to go into title tools, which you'll need to download in the description, and paste it here. Now we're going to drag this right on ENPG, hit Y, because you do want to compress it, and hit N for that. It's going to encode it, and if it's not 256 by 256, it's going to complain. But if it is, then it's going to give you this thing right here. I'm just going to call this title.enpg. Except for the fact that I just realized that doing that was completely useless, because I kind of just forgot the method that was here. Oh, don't I feel stupid now? Yes, I do. I feel very stupid, because I just told you to do something that was completely wrong, just to show how I'm just an idiot. Look, okay, I've just gotten this today. I spent like 2 to 3 hours trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing, making this, and I'm making a tutorial on it now, so I deeply apologize. Anyways, you're supposed to import the title2.bmp. And since we already imported it, we're going to go and extract its files using the DS editor. Which is going to be in, it's right there. See, I'm losing my mind. We're going to open dummy.nds. Now it's very important that you follow exactly what I do here. Don't worry, you can trust me this time. What we're going to do is go to Stage, Baton King map, because this is Wump's battle. Because this is the Wump's fortress that we did it in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to need to decompress certain things. Like if you remember earlier, we needed to LZ compress SC and CG. So we're going to need to decompress the SC, hit it once, and decompress the CG. Now we're going to extract this file. Go to bin. I'm going to call this bad n sc.bin. Let me just copy this as a template. Then we're going to extract that as bad ncg.bin. And lastly, bad ncl.bin. Now why I'm calling those bad is because they may not work exactly as we want them to. Now since we decompressed it, we're going to see something interesting when we open it again with Super Mario 64 DS. So if I actually do go into dummy.nds and go into Wump's Fortress and go into Minimap, it's going to kind of have a little freak out. But we're just going to do this just to verify that everything's working. If we hit load image, it's not going to work. But we're going to hit decompress and hit load image, and then it'll work. It's important that these must be If these are unchecked and it loads correctly, then that means you hit the LZ decompress and used it correctly. If it doesn't work, then you may want to re-import the minimap and try decompressing again. And now what we're going to do is actually try and get this thing into the title. Yes, we're going to do that. We're just going to inject it in there. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to go into our bin file, and we're going to make some comparisons. Simple enough, let's start with the NCG. Going to look at the default and the bad. You can see that the bad one, as I call it, is huge compared to the default. Although the other ones should be fine. Like NCL, that's 480, but ours is 520. Let's just kind of go into this, and we can actually just remove kind of the padding zeros. But however, we need to make it equal exactly 1 E0 bytes as shown before, because we're going to have it match up with the palette, because an NCL is the palette, so we need to make this equal 1 E0. So how we do that is we go all the way to 1 E0, and we're like, oh, okay, we can just delete these 2 lines. That's great. So if we highlight this, it's all done. So now that I did that, it's no longer a bad NCL. Instead, it's a good NCL because it has the exact same byte length that we want. And you're probably thinking, oh, well, we just did that, so let's go ahead and do it with the NSC. So yes, we'll go into the bad NSC, say it's 800 bytes, but it should be 600. So we'll just like delete these, we'll just delete these 200, but no, you can't just do that. Oh wait, no, going from the wrong direction here. So you're probably like, oh, we can just go ahead and just cut off everything after this 600 mark here, but no, we can't go ahead and do that. Now why we can't go ahead and do that is because the stuff down here is actually important data. So we can't just delete that, although I remember the SC being the same length. Hang on a second, I'll be right back. Anyways, I think I found what was going wrong. I just re-imported the Button King, and I think I might have forgot to LZ decompress it. I might have hit something else. Anyways, I'm just going to extract it over the existing SC and replace it. So now the bad NSC is actually like 600, and it should match. But we're not going to call it good just yet. We're going to copy this NSC and this and hit Control C. We're going to go to Tutorial, Title Tools, RoadRunner's Deduplicator, and put them in here. Now you make sure you have Python installed and right click and hit Edit with Vital. I don't know if I'm pretty sure this might need Python 3. This is Python 3, I think. And you must also right click a right command prompt and hit pip install pillow. And then you're going to hit enter, and hopefully it'll do everything just right. But I already did that, so there's no need for me to do that. So I'm going to call this logo.ncg for the ncg file. And this bad NSC is going to be called logo.nsc. Okay. And basically, let me explain what we're doing here. We're going to take some coordinates that I say are almost useless, and we're going to make sure that they kind of actually work. So I'm going to open this with GNU image manipulation program, the title 2 that we imported. Let me go back to the bins. And a huge thanks goes to RoadRunner for making these Python scripts for me and for like the DS hacking community. And he also helped me a ton in actually getting this to work. He's the one who made these scripts to convert everything to a lower file size so I can actually inject them. So give him a good thumbs up, or like a huge applause, or go subscribe to him if he has a YouTube. I don't know if he does, honestly, but he's pretty cool. And he was really nice. He helped me so much. Anyways, let me just X out this palettes because they're kind of useless at this point. I'm going to hit View, Show Grid. And you're also going to need to set the grid somehow. I forget how. Make sure Snap to Grid is checked. And there's also and you're going to need to configure the grid to make sure that these are 8x8 and hit OK. Because that's going to be our reference here to seeing that these pixels are going to be down. So there's going to be 32 going across, and there's going to be who knows how many going down that direction. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to define the duplicate tiles. So let me just kind of clear with this and start with a blank slate. Here's an example. This 0, 0 is the exact same as this one right here. So that means that I could kind of define them as the same to save space. So that means I can do this. And change this to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30. I'm going to do this all the way to 32. And basically what this will do is it's going to say, hey, here's a template right here, and all of the other tiles over here use that, so there's no point in redefining it. So we're just going to keep on using that huge tile block. And that's exactly what we're doing here. We're going to do it for this second row. So we can just copy this whole thing, enter, then start doing it here. So now we're going to hit 1 because we're going one more on the graph, if you know how offsets work. Or basically, I'm sure everyone knows how to use kind of a graph. Like this is 0, 0, this would be 1, 0, this would be 1, 1, this would be 1, 2. So I think you can kind of get the gist of where I'm going at here. And a block is defined at the left top corner, so this whole block is 0, 0, but this bottom one is 0, 1, and this right one here is 1, 0. I can do it here to save some tiles, but I'm just going to go ahead right to the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That means the lowest amount we can have is 24. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a 24. Ooh. And I can also hit Control H and hit find 0 and replace that with 24. Except that's also going to affect that, which is not exactly what we want. So we can just go ahead and make it exclusive, so only those will be triggered. Let me just fix that real quick, because that's bothering me. Alright, now we can do the same, but with the 23s, because we can go down to 23 rather safely. Of course, we're kind of ignoring this first row here, because like that would be 0, 0 actually. Anyways, let's just do it. Let me just run this and see how far we did. Index out of range. That means, we've hit a value that cannot be hit. My guess is that 24 does not actually exist. So I'm just going to replace all the 24s here with 22s. Anyways, let's hit F5 and hopefully it'll work. No, it still won't work. And I'm kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's perplexing, because I could have sworn that's how you're supposed to do it. But let me go double check. Anyways, I'm back, and I can't seem to figure it out. Like, I could have sworn that this is alright, but there must be something. Maybe the grid is incorrect or something, but for now, I'm just going to delete these 22s and see if it exports kind of somewhat successful. Okay, and if we look at the exported file, we have 44, and what's our target? Our target is going to be 31.8. So we're going to want to get around 31.8, most likely a little bit lower. So we need to remove those tiles. So maybe perhaps the grid is 16 by 16. But I'm not completely sure. But let me just do a test right here. On what bounds are acceptable. I already calculated the max as being 0.4, but would a 12 work? Yes, it does. Would a 13 work? Yes, it does. So we're going to go all the way to 20. A 21. And a 22. A 23. Okay, so we're left with 22 being the range. Now let me just do this for the 21s and see how that goes. Although we want to kind of remove as much as possible, if we remove too much, we can make something not look correct in the end. So it's important that we kind of like use this with discretion and try and remove as little as possible. Now let's see how much that this leaves us with. Now it's going to run, and we're left with 40. So once again, we're going to keep on going. And I just noticed, why is there such a big line at 21s? And that can't be a good thing. It must have messed up somewhere. Probably need to convert these 21s into 1s. As you can see, this is kind of like, you can just skip ahead, I guess, if you don't really want to watch this part. Don't worry, we're going to be almost done soon. Did we do 20s? So let's try 19, and then we'll see if it works. One and 19. Hit F5. And let's see. We're left with 36, which is actually a pretty generous portion that we removed. In fact, we can just go ahead and undo this whole 19 thing if we really want to be safe. We can close that GIMP at this point and have this be 38. Okay. And so this should be the typical 600 bytes. Yes, it is. So they're both the exact thing we want. So we're going to copy them to the bin. I'm going to call this good nsc.bin, because this is going to be the exact 600 bytes that we want. Although we're going to need to look at the default NCG and the default and this. Might as well call it good for now, but we're going to see what it needs. .bin. Okay, so this is, the default is 7F80, but if we look in this one, it's going to be 9800. Wait, that doesn't make sense. I thought we had it lower. Oh, I was supposed to have it at 31. I'll go doing the whole troubleshoot thing. You know what? I'll just pause the video this time, and I'll just go subtract some more bytes and see what we do. Okay, once you're done playing around with it into something that should be kind of good, you can see that this is 7F80, but this is 7E40. Now, of course, there's a bunch of padding zeros at the end, and so if you're too lazy to have it shorter, you can essentially like kind of remove some zeros at the end, but never anywhere else in the file. But except since this is 7F40 and this is only 7E40, we're going to need to insert some zeros. If it keeps on giving you a warning, if you want to do this, then you might want to disable it. I'm just going to keep on doing this. Eventually we'll come to this point where we have the total length number of bytes to be 7F80, and we're be done here. Although we're going to go to the bin folder now, and we're going to make a new, copy this and make a new overlay. We're going to call this new overlay 7, and this is where we're going to inject our new title. So we're going to take the good in this order and SC, CG, CL. So up in the SC, CG, then lastly the CL. We're doing it exactly in that order so we don't get confused. Now go to this familiar looking offset that we used earlier. And now rather than having to replace those 600 bytes from earlier, like earlier we copied them, now we're going to copy these 600 bytes and paste them in there and hit Control S. Then we're going to go to this offset. And we can see this is 7F80, so we're going to go ahead and select 7F80 right here. Once again, this may take a little bit for it to select everything. Now we're going to select this, hit Control C, and paste that in there. And then lastly, we're going to go to the final offset. This is 1E0 bytes. We're going to copy that. I don't know where the cursor is. Okay, it's over here. I'm going to select these 1E0, paste it. And if we select everything, it should be 556600 or whatever the length of the original offset is. Just make sure they're the exact length that it is for me. And once you hit Control S, you can exit out of that. Let's go in the new editor, hit Open ROM, and this time we're actually going to go into the title test, and we're going to hit ARM9 overlays, and in overlay 7, we're going to hit replace. Now we're going to replace it with the new overlay. Now let's see how our title came out. And you can see there's obviously something wrong with it. The background. What's wrong with the background? And you'll remember that the background was supposed to be transparent. Why isn't it? That's because we actually need to set the first pixel to be transparent. And how we do that is we go to bin, new overlay, and we're going to go to the offset of the tile, which is this middle one here. And we're going to set this. No, it may not be the tile actually. Sorry, it's the palette. palette we go to. You can see, and we're going to replace this with 0080. This information was found out by RoadRunner. Once again, the guy who helped me earlier. And now if we run this, the background should be transparent, but we still may see something weird about it. And while this looks almost right, you can see that the bottom is all funky. Now why it's all funky is because we tried to use some of the existing things to save bytes, and we really messed around with the bottom here. But you can see that it looks all screwed up now, so you just kind of have to keep playing around with this coordinate set in order to find something that looks good, but yet has the goodest amount of bytes that save space. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Sorry for all the screw-ups, and if you are confused, just kind of go back and look at everything I do, every single thing. Although I may mess up, but I do fix some things. You can always skip around as always. I hope this helps some people out there. Once again, shout outs to RoadRunnerWMC for helping me figure this out. So, go support him. I'll see you all later.